there is no doubt that China's economy will decline in the future. Some people buy stocks at low prices thinking that the optimistic atmosphere will cause stock prices to rise. However, if the situation worsens in the future and stock prices fall, they will suffer losses. It's scary when information is biased, but this phenomenon is also happening in Japan. Until a few years ago, some Japanese people said that Japan was finished and that China was coming. Some people believed this. This is similar to the propaganda of the Communist Party, but some people in Japan also believed it. There were quite a few people who believed this at the time. This was because the information about China in Japan was biased. Therefore, you need to be careful with the information from Japanese media. The People's Daily promotes China as a great country, but it is not. There are many reasons for this, but one of them is the Communist Party itself. This issue has already been reported in Japan, but the former chairman of a Chinese bank was sentenced to death. However, he was given a 2-year reprieve. This is not a system in Japan. Many Japanese people are wondering what this means. Let me explain. This is called a suspended death sentence in Japanese. This is a system that is completely different from the suspended death sentence in Japan. Chinese people also say that this is a unique system in China. This is a death sentence, but if you behave well for 2 years, you will be sentenced to life imprisonment. This means that you must not commit any crimes during that time. However, these people are in prison, so they will not commit any crimes. Therefore, they will be sentenced to life imprisonment. Therefore, this is essentially a life sentence. As for the former chairman of the bank, he was engaged in insider trading and had accumulated nearly 100 billion yen through a conglomerate. By the way, when such crimes are discovered, not all the ill-gotten funds are revealed. Authorities have reported finding around 10 billion yen in Japanese currency, but there may still be funds that have not been investigated. In the case of China, it has been mentioned that an individual was sentenced to death for embezzling around 10 billion yen, but China has a system of confiscating personal property. Therefore, even if you claim it was originally your property, it will all be confiscated. Regarding the former chairman of the bank convicted in this case, it has been revealed that he was involved in insider trading and had accumulated a total of around 10 billion yen through joint ventures. This is a significant embezzlement amount. By the way, in Japan, some people consider this to be a past crime, while others believe that this person is the only one in China who has engaged in such egregious embezzlement across the entire country. However, this is not the case. There are many others engaged in similar activities, and this is contributing to the final decline of the Chinese economy. In this individual's case, he was engaged in insider trading. Insider trading has long been rampant in China, and this is because Chinese companies often have Communist Party officials backing them. When a company's performance rises or falls, or when new profits are obtained or previously profitable businesses suddenly fail, such information is known to some. Therefore, insider trading can be profitable, but it is illegal. Participating in insider trading is illegal in Japan as well, but in China, despite the opportunity to profit, most people take advantage of it. At least, this individual convicted this time was involved in insider trading. By the way, this is not the first time someone engaged in insider trading and embezzled a large sum of money has been convicted. This indicates that insider trading is rampant in China. However, this is detrimental to those without the information. As a result, insider trading creates a system where those with strong information win and those with weak information lose. If this situation is left unchecked, it is only natural that China's stock market will naturally decline. Furthermore, this individual was also involved in large-scale fundraising. This means that banks earn income when they lend money. I also believe this is a negative factor for the Chinese economy. From the perspective of banks, if they do not properly evaluate the future prospects and collateral value of companies, they will be lending to places where they cannot earn income. However, in reality, the person borrowing the money does not have a proper business plan. For example, if they borrow 100 million yen and repay 10 million yen, they have no intention of repaying the remaining 90 million yen and are using it for their own purposes. From the bank's perspective, this is a bad loan. In addition, banks should lend to companies expected to grow and nurture those companies. However, if they continue to lend due to bad loans, the money will not go where it is really needed. This is the situation when lending is done in China. With lending done in this way, companies that can normally grow in China do not grow. Instead, rather than spending money on research and development and improving services, people in power spend money on relationships, increase their profits by giving bribes to decision makers, and make money. This is the reality in China. However, if you've been listening so far, you might think that this is a rare case and that most people are behaving properly, so bribery is a rare occurrence. This may be the sense of Japanese people, but in reality, this is a widely seen phenomenon in China. Previously, a method to improve this reality was proposed by the Communist Party. The proposal is that anyone who receives more than 500,000 yuan in bribes should be sentenced to death. This is in 2012. In Japan, this is equivalent to over 100 million yen. In Japan, if you receive over 100 million yen, you will be sentenced to death. In China, people who have received bribes do not receive a death sentence. This is because everyone is involved in bribery, so if you know that you will be sentenced to death for receiving over 100 million yuan, you don't know when you will be sentenced to death. Furthermore, Japan has a similar system where the assets of lawmakers are disclosed. In China, there is talk, especially among members of the Communist Party, that individual assets should have been disclosed for many years. Individual assets are known in China. If the amount of individual assets is disclosed, people will wonder why they have so much money, so this will serve as a deterrent to prevent corruption. Therefore, it is considered that individual assets should be disclosed. However, the Communist Party has a system in which members must disclose their assets. In other words, those who control the Communist Party want to know how much wealth each member has. The Communist Party is one organization, but there are many internal struggles and political battles within the organization, so it is important for those who control the organization to know the size of the assets available for mobilization. Therefore, Communist Party members must declare their assets to the party. At least, that's what people inside the Communist Party say. Of course, I don't think those involved in embezzlement will honestly declare their assets, but they have data on individual assets. However, it doesn't matter to ordinary people whether or not they declare it, whether they have assets. In other words, there are many embezzlers within the Communist Party, and if receiving over 100 million yen in bribes leads to the death penalty, everyone would be sentenced to death. If you disclose your individual assets, you will be subject to verification in various aspects and it will become troublesome. Therefore, most people think that if they embezzle, they will be caught and embarrassed, so they don't embezzle. However, that doesn't mean they're not embezzling. If you are an insider and have access to information, you can get away with embezzling. In conclusion, many people within the Communist Party are involved in embezzlement, and most people within the Communist Party think that they will be sentenced to death if they are caught, so they are embarrassed. Therefore, many people are found guilty of embezzlement and bribery every year, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. In other words, when you look at the flow of funds in China, it flows to those in power, and that flow is so great that it weakens the ability of the economy to rotate it. In other words, to grow companies or do research and development, you need a strong incentive to spend money. However, when the flow of funds flows into lending, etc., the money does not go where it is really needed. In other words, when lending is done in this way, companies that can normally grow in China do not grow. This is the reality in China. However, I don't think this is because the Communist Party is doing this, but because China has always been like this. China has always been like this. In other words, China is said to be a country of despotism and always dictatorial. However, this is a country where you can get huge benefits by getting close to those in power, so it is a country where most people would engage in bribery if given the opportunity. At least, I think the individual convicted this time was involved in insider trading. By the way, there have been many people who have been found guilty of insider trading in the past and have engaged in large-scale embezzlement. In other words, insider trading is rampant in China. However, if you don't have that information, you will be at a disadvantage. In other words, this situation is disadvantageous for those who do not have information. In the end, if this situation is left unchecked, China's domestic stock market will naturally decline. That's it for this time. See you next time.